Hi, I'm Dixon Osburn, Executive Director of the Center for Justice and Accountability, and I am here with Carlos Mauricio, who was one of CJ's very first clients. Carlos, could you tell us very briefly about your case?
Our case is a case of kidnapping and torture. The case is Romagoza versus Garcia. And in the United States, with the help of the Center for Justice and Accountability, we were able to bring bring charges against two Salvadoran generals. Big generals, big top militaries. Both were former Minister of Defense in El Salvador, General Garcia and General Vides Casanova. We charged them of being responsible for the kidnapping and torture of Juan Romagoza, the kidnapping and torture of Nery Gonzalez, and the kidnapping and torture of myself. Juan Romagoza, he was a doctor when he was kidnapped. Uh, Nery Gonzalez, she was a church worker when she was kidnapped, and I was a professor at the University of El Salvador. So the three of us bring the charges because the three of us we were kidnapped by death squads in El Salvador, and we were kept in a torture chamber. For I was kept for probably three weeks, for 4 weeks. Nery Gonzalez also spent several weeks, but Juan Romagosa spent more time. And it was the very first time that the Salvadoran militaries could finally face charges from the atrocities that they carried out during the civil war in El Salvador. I was kidnapped in 1983, and Romagosa was kidnapped in 1980, and Nery Gonzalez in 1981. So the three of us, we made charges against the general's basis in the law, the chain of command responsibility. They, although they kept saying that they didn't order the kidnapping, the reality is that because they were in charge of the army, finally they had to answer for whatever their subordinate did.
And so you were able to win your case.
That is incredible. That is something that changed my life. You know, we the victims, we the torture survivors, one of the things that indeed change our lives and make us different, it is because two things. First, because we bring the perpetrators to a court. That's very important. That's only that is a winning already. Bringing the perpetrators to a court and challenging them and telling them in their face what they did. That is a big deal. However, in the case of us, we won, and that is the icing on the cake. We won, and that brought a lot of hope for the Salvadorian torture survivors and for people who also had been kidnapped or tortured.
And what do you think the case means today?
That's very important in many ways. First, because that case set up a lot of procedures to how to bring a case against perpetrators. Romagoza versus Garcia indeed is a landmark in the law of the United States. And that's very important. But not only that. Right now, right now in 2018, finally, because our cases are here in the United States, and because what we did here in the United States, in El Salvador, now there are some militaries in the courtroom.
The Center for Justice and Accountability is celebrating its 20th anniversary in 2018. What does that mean to you?
A lot, a lot. Uh, when I came to the Center for Justice and Accountability, uh, it was a difficult time for me. I was trying to understand the whole damage made by the humiliation and the torture that they inflicted me. Uh, but when I came to the Center for Justice and Accountability, I remember that my psychologist, the person who was, I was in therapy with her, 2 weeks before, she told me, well, Carlos, I can explain you why you are so sad, why you are got insomnia, why you have bouts of violence, why you cry a lot. But she said, therapy only can explain, but what you really need is justice. And when I was asked to join the case, Romagoza versus Garcia, I knew that I was going to get better if I do participate in the case. And indeed, through the winning and through the participation of the Center for Justice and Accountability, indeed, as a torture survivor, now I am a winner in many ways. I am a person who can say, indeed, I have gotten justice.
And what are 3 words that come to mind when you think about the Center for Justice and Accountability?
Well, first, hope for torture survivors. You see, second, being able to think that justice has been achieved, and third, that others can also do it. Other torture survivors can also do what we have done. And indeed, in many cases, other torture survivors always question me about how I did to win the case against the Salvadorian generals.
And what would be your message to the torture survivors from El Salvador, to the people in Burma today that are facing torture, to the people in Syria? What would your message be to them?
Well, they justify torture in many ways. Generals and colonels and the militaries or whoever justify torture. And when it's carried out, they should know that it's a crime. They can do it if they want, but because it's a crime, sooner or later they have to face the consequences because they justify torture. However, torture is a crime, and sooner or later they have to answer to their behavior.
Finally, what does justice mean to you?
You know, it's a sense of finally getting the good side of the humanity. The sense of that indeed, despite of the wrongs that the world right now has, justice for me means that idea of getting the good side of humanity. That it still is. It still is. It's a side of people. Because I believe that the good people is more than the bad people. And justice for me, the confirmation that indeed we are working in the good side.
Thank you so much, Carlos.